Hi everyone, it's Andy Hodges coming to you live in Sebastian for Sebastian Daily, and with me is Councilman Damien Gilliams. Is it Gilliams or Gilliams?
Gilliams, just
Gilliams.
like Williams with an S.
Okay. Everyone says, oh, it's Gilliams or Gilliams, so.
It's
Okay.
Gilliams.
Thanks for the interview, and we wanted to get your side out and your message across, and that's why we asked for the interview. So
Okay.
thanks for your time.
Well, Andy, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think that's fair journalism, and I see that you report for the other council members, and thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I want people to know how I feel. And if you want, I can give you a little bio as to who I am before we get started.
Sure.
I'm one of 11, and I was born in Manhattan, New York Hospital, and I have 3 sisters and 7 brothers, and I was raised as an orphan at the Lieutenant Joseph P. Kennedy Home for Children because my mom couldn't take care of all of us in the projects, and that was in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And when I went to the orphanage, it was in the Bronx. So I was raised with 16 other kids.
Wow.
So you had to stand for things and don't be afraid to stand down. So that's where my tenacity comes from. And then from there, I went on to college, State University of New York, Buffalo. I was a business manager. I left that, and I went to work at Yonkers Raceway as a thoroughbred trainer, cleaning out stalls, cleaning up the bad part, and then went back to school, and I went to work for ABC TV. Mm-hmm. Did that, and then came to Florida, met my wife in Long Island, my beautiful wife, Bonnie, and we've been married 34 years, and we raised 3 kids in Sebastian. We have 3 engineers in our family. My oldest is a computer science engineer, University of Florida, has his own business. My daughter, Casey, is doing her PhD at Colorado School of Mining. She's a material science engineer. She specializes in metals, metallurgy.
Now she did a bike race.
Correct. Across America. They were all raised to do community service, all of them. That's how they were raised. And she rode her bicycle across America to raise money for Habitat for Humanity, and she built homes. And she's finishing up her PhD at Colorado School of Mining. And then my youngest son, Emmerich, is a chemical engineer, and he's working through his degree right now at the University of Florida. So, I'd like to think that it starts at home. Yeah. And I've done a lot of community service as well. I've done Little League. I've done basketball, Little League at the county level. I volunteered for code enforcement over the years. I was chairman of the Code Enforcement Board. I also did Community Redevelopment Association, Working Waterfront Association. So I am real up to date on what's going on at City Hall. Plus, I've developed properties in this community using engineers and architects. So I have a vast background. I'm also a realtor, broker, developer. So just to give people a little idea, who is Damien? What's my background? Have I been arrested? Yeah. I was arrested for disorderly conduct, protesting, and I get it. But it's something that I'm honored with. Okay, if I feel that the cause is right, I will go out there and protest. So, there was other arrests. They were not proven in court, no conviction, and I'm happy to talk about it. So, but anyway, I know we're on a short time, so I'm going to let you or your listeners hit away with the questions. I come prepared with no statements. I'm going to speak from my heart. Okay.
Well, when we announced the interview, a lot of people last night sent in a lot of questions. We might not get to all of them.
We're going to get to all of them, Andy. You're going to fire away, and I'm going to give them answers.
All right.
How's that?
That sounds fair to me.
Okay. I want to get them all answered.
Okay. Someone quoted something on your campaign website that said, "I am a man of character. I live my life guided as a moral and ethical compass." They wanted to know, is that a broken promise that you've made?
Absolutely not. Trust me, by my decisions that I make on behalf of this community, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And at the last special council meeting, you questioned why the golf course and boat ramps have reopened due to COVID-19 concerns. But then a few minutes later, you asked when the senior and art centers will open when they are indoor activities.
Great question. I received a call from one of the members down there. They could not get return phone calls, so I was asking that question on that person's request. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they were out there watching. And for any of the art members or the seniors, I wanted to be able to get back to them and say, look, I'm here representing you. I'm asking the city manager to please let you guys know, and he said he would. So that's part of my job as a public servant.
You're addressing the council.
I was addressing the council, the city manager, and that was a request from one of the members from the art club. He said, I can't get no return calls, so would you follow up on it? And that's what I did.
Okay.
So, and by the way, getting back to the boat ramp, the golf course, that's wrong. When you're shutting down City Hall, the building department, everything else, you know, and then you leave the employees at the golf course to fend for the virus. When I looked at the numbers, I did pull a financial report as to money they were making, and they were doing okay. They were not losing a lot of money, but if anything, they should have been making money because there was nothing else to do. But in reality, I think it was wrong that we needed to set an example that if we shut down the parks and the government said no more than 10 people assembling on public property, then the city and the city staff management failed and should have shut that down to be fair to everybody. So, and I just was making a point.
Okay. And someone asked, why do you want to become mayor so bad?
Well, listen, I don't need to be mayor. But if my cohorts up there feel that they need new leadership, I'm willing to step up to the plate. I did not put that on the agenda. You'd have to ask Paul that. He put that on there to rescind them and to reorganize because he's watching what's going on up there. I like Ed. Ed Dodd's a nice person. I speak with him all the time. We don't always agree. We respectfully disagree. But his leadership skills up there, he is denying, well, when he got with Paul to do the declaration of emergency and didn't bring the proper documents to the meeting the next day for approval or see if we can modify it, he unilaterally shut that meeting down. You guys saw it. He didn't have the authority. He does not have veto power. He can't do that. And he did it again. He did it on Monday. Monday night. There was 10 minutes left. I was filibustering to get my point across. And what did he do? He gavelled me again. So he doesn't understand that there in the Constitution of Sebastian and the Charter, the magic number is 3. I understand there was an annexation issue. 3 people newly elected got in. They need to respect that. And what they're doing is they're using Robert Rules of Order because Pam and Charles are not up to speed yet on how to handle parliamentary rules. So they're confusing them.
Yeah.
They're confusing them. And that's wrong. If Ed was a team player, he would be saying he would slow down, but instead he's manipulating the rules, confusing them with their motions, and I'm there to protect everybody. So getting back to, do I really want to be mayor? If my cohorts ask me, Damien, would you step up and run the meeting? I run plenty of meetings for the Sebastian Property Owners Association. I give everybody a chance to speak. I try not to interrupt anybody unless you get offline or off note. And I'm pretty fair. Go to SebastianPropertyOwners.com. You can look at our meetings. I'm a very fair individual. And I'm familiar with the procedures. I've been going to those meetings for over 30 years. 30 years. So I hope I answered the question about the mayor issue.
Yeah.
I will serve if my country or my city asks me to serve. And I'm going to serve. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, here's a unique question. Why does the bar have 2 names, Timeout and No Name?
It's a very good question. So, coming up in a family of 11, my mom was frugal. She used to dilute the ketchup, the milk. She had 11 to feed. So I'm frugal. And I will be frugal with the taxpayers' money. And I'm frugal with my business money. I've been in business 28 years. So why does it say that? Well, the sign was broken and torn up, and I had a backup sign here, and it was from when we had a different name back in the years. I saved it, and I said, you know, one day I'm going to need that sign. And instead of going out and spending $1,300, $1,500 for a new sign, I inserted that one, and I thought it was kind of interesting because the timing was good. Because in sports, you do take a lot of timeouts. And I think this community, I wanted to send the message, let's just take a timeout. Let's look at the facts. And I saved $1,500 because I'm going to be replacing that sign. So it made no sense for me to invest another $1,500 where I can put it into the new sign. So I'm trying to be frugal. I will be frugal with the taxpayers' money, and you will see that as I make my decisions and try to convince 2 other board members to come for a ride.
Okay.
I hope I answered that question.
And this is a big question everyone keeps asking. We get this question every day. Why is No Name open when it's a bar and not a restaurant?
Well, Andy, you know the answer to that question.
You have a food license.
I have a restaurant license. My liquor license is over $250,000. It's a special 4 COP. It allows me to serve liquor, sell liquor, but I also have a restaurant license. Okay, I don't fall under it's called the. There's a special license for 51% food sales. It's called an SRX license. You can call alcohol and tobacco. They issue those to restaurants, but you have to do over 51% food sales. We do a lot of food sales here anyway. So
you don't have to meet that 51%?
the way my lawyers read it, but we meet it anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to show you my food receipts. As long as you get everybody else in the city to do theirs, I got nothing to hide.
Okay.
So, and you can check with hotels and restaurants. I do have a food license. Not looking to break the law. I'm a leader in the community.
Yeah. Well, the last meeting.
And by the way, why are they going after me personally, my family business? Why? It's wrong. They come to my house and attack my son's vehicle, my vehicle. There's no room for that, Andy. That's not Sebastian. Everybody gets a chance to be heard. And to attack me like that, it hurts me. It hurts my family.
Okay. You mentioned at the last meeting that you want to make it everyone wear a mask in city chambers. People are asking, why not make it mandatory in your bar?
Okay, and it's a good question, whoever asked that question. It's twofold. Public, private. Apples, oranges. If you go to the motor vehicles, it's mandatory. It's public. You're required to wear a mask, appointment only. Private, people have a choice. It's America. It's called free enterprise. My staff is required to wear it for safety in the kitchen, out here. I ask and we recommend our people to come in and wear it. It's hard enough right now, 25, 50% occupancy
Yeah.
to pay your bills.
Right.
So I'm not about to chase people out. My staff needs to pay their bills. They have, people. America's hurt, man, and the small businesses in this town are hurting.
Yeah,
and that's
all
why
of
I
them.
was pushing for these meetings.
Yeah.
I want to help the mom and pops. I have ideas. I'm an entrepreneur. I can save a lot of families from losing their jobs, but I can't do it if Carlisle, the city manager, and Ed Dodd are cooking up deals and taking our rights away under the Constitution and the charter, which the judge issued. Have those meetings. Mr. Gilliams is correct. Okay, and I know she threw him a little dog bone saying that Ed had the right to do the declaration. Correct. However, there was a little caveat. He can declare it, we approve it, we modify it. He did not follow that guideline. So, but I'm not going to argue that. I want to move on.
Okay.
Yeah, next question.
Why are you so disruptive in meetings?
Well, I try not to be, and I'm working on it. I am not perfect. It's not easy to be up there. They give you a phone book. The last packet was 277 pages, and I had 3 days to review it. And when I asked for them to play by their procedures, their resolution 20-02, it's in my mind, and they don't follow Robert Rules of Order. And you seen the other night when they call for the vote, but you got to have the vote to call for the vote. And these guys have been up there many years, and I have to call them out, and the city attorney goes, Mr. Gilliams is right. Mr. Gilliams has been right because I take the time to read the documents, the fine print, because I'm representing the community, and it is so important that I make the right decisions. So I hope that answers your
Okay.
question.
Yeah, that answers it.
Okay.
Someone else asked, why is it a good thing not to pay your taxes?
Okay, so as everybody knows in the community, I own multiple properties. I pay a lot of property taxes. If I were to guess over the 35, 40 years I've been in this community, I think my taxes would be in excess of millions of dollars, at least $1 million minimum. So under the program at the property appraiser's office and the tax collector's office, they have a thing where you can let somebody else pay your taxes for you. It's a program. You pay an interest for that. It goes to a auction online. So, and people start on the low end and they bid. I'll pay 0.01, 0.02. I'll pay the taxes for that gentleman. You have 2 years. I always take care of them within the 2 years. I'm entitled to that. I take those funds and I can invest them in other areas and get a better return on my investment. From a finance point of view, it makes good sense to take $30, $40, $50, $100,000, invest it somewhere else. Stock market's doing very good, Andy, as you can see. And there's a lot of millionaires being made there. So, but yeah, there's some risk when you do that, so you need to have some backup funds to make sure your taxes. My property taxes, I never lost a piece of property. So for those out there who keep telling me to pay my taxes, please, just get educated and try not to get personal. That's my personal business. But I'm okay answering it because I'm in the public eye and I'm a public servant. And if I can teach somebody how to save their property and not get stressed out, there you go. So you don't have to pay it. Somebody else pays it for you, but the taxes get paid.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Does that make any sense, Andy?
That makes sense.
Okay. I hope I answered that person's question. And they stop harassing me about it.
The next question, I'm not sure if you're able to answer it because there's litigation going on.
Listen,
but,
I'm not like Ed Dodd and throw that nonsense out. We got litigation. No, we can't. Bring it on. Show me what you got.
Why do you feel the April 22nd meeting was legal when no one called the city staff to ask where they were?
Okay, so that started, and I put all the evidence out, and it's online on that last meeting. We did 3 special meetings to cover that. First and foremost, I saw the emails that Charles and everybody was getting, and I know who those emails are coming from because I recognize most of those names. They're part of Jim Hill's recall group. I understand that. They're upset. They lost power, and they put the pressure on the city council members to cancel that meeting. I felt we cannot cancel that meeting because they've already illegally canceled one when he did the March 18th meeting. Unilaterally, he does not have veto power. Mm-hmm. And we may get sued over that. So I said, we can't have this anymore. Then there was a lot of important things on that agenda pertaining to monies, $5 to $8 million projects that are getting ready to be, the trigger's going to be pulled. And, we just had a virus come through the community. We're on a declaration of emergency, and you want to spend $5 to $8 million with 3 new people up there? Don't you think you should pull that off the agenda? Let's review it properly, because I reviewed it. I do my homework. Wright Construction is not from Sebastian. They're from the west coast of Florida. As a matter of fact, I think there's a personal relationship with the city manager on this. Go to the meeting of when they did the presentation with the 3 contractors, and you guys be the judge. Take a look at the presentation. It's supposed to be guaranteed maximum price. We did that on the city hall. I was here. I was the one that broke that wide open. They started out a $7 million budget, Andy. It went to $12.5 million. They had a local contractor who wanted to get the job but could not pull, and I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to hurt anybody, but he couldn't get a bond. So what did they do? They still let him do the job, which you got to pay him 20 to 30% markup. They brought the guys in from Palm Beach. They ate our lunch. They changed orders like you would not believe. I did a forensic audit. I laid it all out for the community. City manager left town. I rest my case. Terrence Moore was no longer here. People caught on. They caught on to it, and nobody was willing to take on the city, and I've taken the city on many times, as you know, because it's not right. That was $5 million that could have went into improving our roads, our drainage into this community, and I call it fleecing of Sebastian. So I'm the watchdog. They may not like it. I'm not here to make friends. I try to be as diplomatic as possible, but when I see a $460,000 contract when I'm a developer myself for architectural plans and a site plan that I know is inflated, and you're giving the business to people on the West Coast when our guys are all out of work here, the small businesses need that work, and the contractors in this town need this work. You're absolutely right, Andy. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to call an emergency meeting. We're going to do a workshop on this, and we're going to address the fact that why do you have 3 presentations and 2 of them are different? Everybody bids on the same project. Go to the tape, watch it. You'll see what I'm talking about. So that is the $300,000. I know you're going to disagree with me on the sugar sand. That's going to come out. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
That was my next question. Was
Okay.
the sugar sand?
Okay. Well, I did the whole study on that as well. I did all the documents. I have them all. I turned that over to Chief Morrison. She didn't want to touch it. She turned it over to Florida Department of Law Enforcement. I get it. I wouldn't touch it either. It involves staff. It involves political people, powerful people. And I interviewed with Florida Department of Law Enforcement. That same day, they opened the investigation. That same day, they closed it. So
did it ever make it to the state attorney?
It never even made a... You can't turn something over to the state attorney without an investigation, Andy. You must investigate. That takes time, research. They didn't do that. So that, to me, cover up. And listen, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to do the job of the people. Make sure that I get everything out. Let them be the judge. So with that being said, McPartland, Dodd, Hill, Ivino, Kitchen. Watch that go out the back door when Joe Griffin was here. That is city assets. Al Minna, when he bought that property, said there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in fill on that property that must go back into the trust fund. It never got there. We must investigate that. We must also bring an outside investigator in to give us a report. It's not a lot of money. We got to hold people accountable in this community. So it's not just inflated contracts. It's not just city assets. And you know, Andy, city surplus property must be appraised and auctioned off so everybody gets it. No backroom deals with no contracts, friend of a friend. Go ahead, clear it, keep the fill, don't worry about it. When the fill's in the hundreds of thousands, but the clearing job's only worth $25,000. That does not make economic sense. My people who voted for me, I told them, I promised them, I'm not backing down. And when I sat with Charles and Pam before we ran, before we were legally council members, we sat at Dunkin' Donuts, and I said, I need your support. These are the issues that are important to me. Tell me what the issues are, because we will not be able to talk sunshine law violations. I understood that because I was on the boards. And Charles told me, ooh, I don't know if I want to touch that. And I understand it because it's a delicate issue. It's going to piss a lot of people off. But he said, yes, we will do an investigation on that sugar sand, because 5 council members, Andy, it's wrong. When the bodies were found on that property, that was the red flag. I ran into Ed Dodd at Walmart. What's going on? He goes, you don't want to know. And if he tells you no, so help me God, he's lying to you. So help me God, he's lying to you. Because that's when I got started on the investigation. They should have opened up the investigation and said, hey, stop. No permits for sand mining. There was environmental sensitive oil. Linda Kitchen went on the record at the Sebastian Property Owners Association saying it was contaminated. They covered it up, cleaned it up, bing, bang, bada, boom, gone. I'm not going to stop. If I got to pay for the investigation myself, it'll be a gift to Sebastian with love from Damien.
I got a 3-part question.
Go right ahead.
And I'll just say all 3.
Okay.
April 22nd meeting. Why did Buzz Herman call you from the city hall? And why didn't you let Mayor Ed Dodd in the door? And
great question.
Actually, it was a 2-part.
Okay. So, and that's a very sensitive question because...
Oh, wait, there is a 3rd. Why didn't you take your hat off for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay. So, it's a great question. It's a sensitive question because state attorney is still investigating. I'm cooperating with the state attorney. I met with them. I told them everything I knew, and I told them the same thing. I told them that they asked me what brought you down. I said, well, I saw the email. I was very upset because I emailed him back, and I said, wrong. Get a second opinion. You're wrong. All the emails are there, Andy. Look at them. I get a call from Buzz. He says, you coming down? I said, the meeting's canceled, my friend. What do you mean come down? He said, no, you need to come down because there's people down here, and there's going to have a rally. I said, no, I'm not coming down. He called me back again and asked me again. I said, fine, I'll come down. I'm 3 minutes from City Hall. I had no problems coming down. I threw on a polo shirt. Everybody knows when I show up to City Hall, council meeting, a regular official meeting, I respect the office. I wear a shirt, tie, a jacket when I have to. I showed up in a polo shirt and a hat because I was prepared for a rally. I brought my bullhorn. I was ready for a rally. So I get there, and I see Charles show up, and he's in a suit. I go, dude, what are you doing? He goes, aren't we having a meeting? I said, I saw it was canceled. He says, I told that city manager, and I saw that email. I understood what he was saying. I said, well, you don't have a quorum, we're not having a meeting. You got to have 3 people. And I'm just telling them the rules, you know. So I said, I'll hang around for a while for the rally, and then I'm going to leave it there. Then everything, it was impulsive. Was it right? Was it wrong? Let me tell you something. From my heart to Sebastian residents, I never tried to do anything underhanded. I asked, we had 10 people that were allowed in that room. I'm going to answer 2 parts to your question. I told 10 people. There was a guy there asking questions. He wasn't from our group. I respected him. I answered his questions. I said, I'll open up. I'll try to figure out how to turn the lights on, and we'll see if we can get it ready for a meeting. That's what I told the vice mayor. And so what happened was I got my attorney on the phone as well because I wanted to make sure I was not breaking the law. And he says, well, you're supposed to have a meeting. You should have a meeting. They legally denied you your meeting. show up, do a quick meeting to show you were there, send a message. And by the way, that meeting, everybody says we try to fire him. Go to the tape. There was an emergency meeting set for Friday to bring staff, the charter officers, tell us why you did this. Charles was under the impression, I was under the impression, and Carlisle sent an email to everybody. I got the consensus of 3. Well, who are the 3? Then he misspoke. Something's not correct there. Who's them? He's saying, well, he was talking to the people because I was talking to him about it. Them are the people that were asking to cancel the meeting. So bottom line is, so we get in there. There's a gentleman. We invited everybody in up to 10. Dodd's guy. I'm trying to see how it happened down. So I told him to hold the door open, if I remember correctly. Oh, no. The door was closed. As it got closer, I was inside. I saw Pam then show up. How she got there, I think that was through Buzz. I don't know, because he was calling everybody. And so we opened up the door, let people come in. I said we can only let up to 10. And then Dodd showed up. I went and opened the door. Dodd came in. It was 3 of us, me, Dodd, and Charles. Dodd was very aggressive. You can't have this meeting. And then they went at it. I broke them up. They were face to face, ready to go down and fight. They were very upset, both of them. I was standing on the outside. I broke them up. Dodd said, I'm leaving. I'm going to bring the police back. Not the police, the sheriff. I said, that's okay. We're going to have a meeting. Either way, we have a majority here. We have a quorum. So we only let 8 people in. And we told the 8 people, please videotape this meeting for the public. We've got nothing to hide. Thank God there's 4 people videotaped because only 1 really came through. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, and then Dodd showed up. I know Dodd was there already, and then he left. The other guy stood there, opened up the door. I said, well, you can hold the door open until they get back. I'm okay with that. And so bottom line is the police showed up at the meeting. And, and I thought it was kind of funny. One of the guys who shot the picture said, psst, the police here. Well, we didn't want confrontation. There was almost a fight inside. I was glad to just do whatever we can get done for the vice mayor. We got it done. And as we were leaving, the police came inside. They said, they threw us out. They didn't throw us out. We were already out. I was shutting the door. Charles was the last one out. Officer was very nice. He said, is everything all right? I said, everything's fine, officer. We're done. Then they went at it again in the parking lot. The officers were yelling at one of the guys because I heard the officer yelling. I said, I'm out of here. I don't want to be a part of any problems. So I left. And that's what happened. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, my attorney's going to say, well, I told you not to talk about it. Listen, my story's not changing. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you the truth. And I'm going to leave it at that, man. Let the chips fall where they're going to fall.
Andy, we're at
30
minutes.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Just a couple more questions. Someone asked, why do you always go after the recall group in the park?
Okay, well, I gave you this here. They were illegally in the park, and if you're going to do something, you got to play by the rules like everybody else plays. This is a letter from the clerk saying that they did not have a permit on file for Saturday. So I showed up Saturday to see what was going on because I had property across the street, and I went down there with my bullhorn. I didn't go on the property. I stayed over by the splash pad, and I was doing public service announcements because I felt I was entitled to do that. I wanted to try to reach out to these people and say, call me. I'd like to talk to you. By the way, so then they called the police. The sergeant shows up. He says, Damien, you're aggravating and you're bothering those people. You got to stop.
That was Saturday.
Saturday. So I said, yeah, officer, I hear you. Okay, but they don't have a permit. He says, I'll go over there and check. Well, Mrs. Cole, Tracy Cole, came over. They didn't have a permit. So I said, then you have to ask them to disperse. They had, and we counted them, over 100 people in there, side by side. We have videotape. We're under an order, 6 feet apart. They should not have been there under the pavilion without a permit because I had to pay when I used the pavilion. They should play by the same rules. That's all I'm saying. So Chief Morrison, former Chief Morrison, was in the thick of that. She finally pulled the permit for yesterday. Well, we went over to check because somebody asked me, hey, should I go over and get some pictures? I said, get some pictures. I wasn't here, but I'm on my way down to check. Well, I said, did you get when I got down, I go, did you get the pictures? He goes, they threw me out. I go, they threw you out? They said they rented the whole park. Nobody's allowed in there. So I said, okay. That's kind of unusual because you rent the park, special events, you got to come to council. I don't recall. Mm-hmm. So I went across the street. I got a video of them coming, Andrea Coy, like an attack group. I got it on video. and you were there, Andy. You shot it. Why did they come attack me? You know, the guy almost knocked my phone out of my hand. You can see it. It's on video. I tried to get away. I was not the aggressor. I went out to the street on US 1, so I'm on the road. They called the police again. I find out when the same sergeant shows up, I says, that's not a legal permit. They don't have a copy of it. It's not, they're not utilizing it correctly. It should be posted so people can read it. So he says, well, they got a permit, Damien, and don't harass them. I said, harass? They were harassing me, and I'm entitled to be in the park. Well, the bottom line is I checked. She didn't operate the permit properly. It was meant as an open permit for anybody can go through the park, and I wasn't bothering anybody. I was shooting pictures, minding my own business. They illegally misconstrued that permit improperly, and the sergeant backed it up again. He's 2 for 2. So, if you're going to get involved in politics and you're going to be a political action committee, just read the rules and play by the rules. If you're going to rent facilities for the city, read it, because I'm getting emails, and I got a copy of an email. I'll give it to you. And if you want to share it with the thing. This poor lady, she's handicapped. She goes to the park every day, and they threw her out.
Oh, I got a copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So she, and I have an obligation as the president of the Homeowners Association to look into these things. So I will be meeting with the chief deputy today, the assistant, Greg Witt, and we're going to look into a lot of these matters so that it doesn't happen again. And being the chief of police for 33 years, not 33 years, since Minna's been here, she should know the rules and regulations on special events at the park. And to have her attack people, attack us, and then have an employee from the police department back her up, that's not good business. That's not fair to this community. And I have an obligation to stand up, but be diplomatic, be nice. I was respectful. I wasn't confrontational with that officer, and I handle it professionally, which I'm going to do today. I'm going to do that. So that's getting back to the permits. Let's utilize the city assets properly. That's all I'm saying.
All right. I got one last question here. As you know, there's a recall petition to recall you, Pamela Paris, and Charles Malty. If that goes through and they recall you, will you honor, respect that, or will you resign, or will you recognize the recall?
Well, that's what makes this country great. Our veterans fought to have a right to challenge the government. I said that from day one, Andy. I'm for a recall if it's justifiable, and you got justification. I'm here to listen. Nobody calls me. I'm here today. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Tina, for being fair journalist and giving the other side an opportunity to speak. But I'm willing to take it one step at a time. And if they got justification and they can do the recall properly, they're entitled to it. And no, of course, if they win, I will step down honorably. Okay? But please, do it legally, do it correctly. That's all I'm saying. In Russia, you're not allowed to do that. You know what happens in Russia. North Korea, third world countries where they have dictators. This is America. And I thank our servicemen. The people pass rumors around. I don't support the first responders. My brother, my family are in the first responder business. Police officers, firefighters. And when Ed Dodd speaks badly about New York is when they're burying their families up there. And I know it was a mistake, but you got to think before you speak. We're not a bunch of thieves and whatever he said, because that's going to backfire him when he goes to run again. That's going to come out, and people got to know how he felt. Did he apologize? Yes, he did. But he's making a lot of mistakes. He got us into this litigation by suing and doing this last lawsuit, and I had to counter it, and the judge said, yes, proceed with having those meetings. He's going to he got us sued again with this guy at the variance board. They're creating a liability. We're getting sued because of the annexation was not done correctly. People didn't get a right to speak. We're going to find out. We're getting into a lot of problems with their leadership, and I'm trying to avoid that. So I hope I answered your question, and I didn't get off on a tangent there.
No, you answered it.
Did I? What was the end part of that question?
Will you recognize the petition recall?
Yeah. That's America, man, and they're entitled to do that. But just be fair. Lay out the charges. Let me defend myself. I have a right to due process. Show me the evidence. That's all I'm asking for. I'll be more than happy to step down if they win the recall. I will do it honorably, something that Ed Dodd would not do as mayor. Gilmore stepped down when he lost the board's confidence. Gilmore's a classy man. And the way they took it away from Jerome Adam was wrong. I watched that. Jerome Adam was the vice president, but Jim Hill manipulated that again to get his boy McPartland in there. So I understand how the game works, and I just feel for this community that I was never a big fan of Manning Haddad because of the sexual allegations that were charged against him. Not charged, the allegations. He has a right to due process, but they hid that. Same when, I was not a big fan of hiring Paul either. But, I'm only one vote, and I respect the other three. If three outvote me, I move on. I move on because I have to respect that. I wasn't here when Paul was on, but I was here when Mr. Anand was here. And he gave bad advice to the city manager and got him in this mess to begin with. Because if he would have gave him good legal advice, I would not have to sue the city and countersue. And I don't want to do that because it costs the taxpayer money. So I hope I was forthcoming with everything you asked. I just asked that I get a fair due process, and I'm happy to meet again and answer more questions.
Okay.
And a debate, and I don't have a problem debating and getting the chambers opened up, go live, let you, Tina, and some of the other reporters in the community, let's debate these issues so the whole community can see. I think that would be a fabulous idea because we have free communications, and that's what's important in this town. Everybody must need to know they must be an educated voter. Don't hijack a legitimate election because you don't like the way it went. And that's what's going on here. Don't hijack our charter. And they hijacked the charter illegally because you don't like how we make decisions. Get out and vote. Now, by the way, and I need your help, Andy, and I need Tina's help. The next election, let's get people out to vote because normally only 10% vote on off year. And yeah, it was a small amount. But presidential elections, congressional elections, people will come out. Let's get them educated. I want to be the town in Indian River County that has the most educated voters that know the issues, and they can get true democracy and true representation. I'm a public servant. I understand that. I try to return everybody's calls. If they're nasty to me, well, then I'm going to have to think about it. Usually I still return their call, even if they're nasty. I call people back. I try to calm them down, but sometimes you can't win. But thank you, Andy. I appreciate you and Tina and your team for coming out here and giving me a chance to speak to your readers. And my number is 772-584-0602. That's my phone for the city. And my email is dgilliams@thecityofsebastian.org. I will try to answer anybody's questions that are legit. And I'm speaking from my heart. And thanks again, Andy.
Well, thank you for your time today. And we're out of time now. So.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I appreciate that. Thank you again.
Thank you. Andy Hodges coming to you live in Sebastian with Councilman Damien Gilliams. We will have another video probably tomorrow, and we'll talk at you later.